So I just finished watching Final Destination 5. I can't really complain that much. It was probably not as good as the other ones in the series, but it was decent. It had some cool death spots, which is basically why people watch these movies, is the unique ways people are gonna die. And the movies are pretty good at that. They set up real life situations, but because death is trying to kill these people off, everything goes just right to kill them, like the roller coaster in 3 or 4, one of those movies, or the NASCAR race where the tire falls off and starts killing people in the crowd. So I think it's pretty interesting to watch them. And I got it from Redbox last night for like $1, so I can't really complain about that. It definitely was worth $1, and it had some entertaining stuff. Had a little bit of goofy stuff that they added new to this series. At least as far as I remember, it's all new. But it was okay. It had some cool death scenes, and for $1, it was fun to watch. I would recommend watching it if you're a fan of horror movies or the Final Destination series. Um, Basically, you have this guy Sam and his girlfriend Molly. Um, they're on some kind of co-worker retreat or something like that, and they're taking a bus with their co-workers, and they go over this bridge, and Sam gets the premonition. He cuts his finger, he hears dust in the wind on the radio, and then the bridge collapses, and there's all types of shit going all over the place, cables and people falling into the river. It was pretty awesome opening. One guy gets hot tar from the construction workers splashed on him, and he just kind of melts off and then falls into the river. That was pretty cool. I'm trying to think. Some people get impaled with stuff, and this one girl falls in the river but survives, and then like a car comes falling on top of her. So all of this stuff happens, and everyone dies except for his girlfriend Molly, who he was able to get to safety. Well, so he wakes up and he realizes, oh man, that was a horrible dream. And then he cuts himself again. He hears the song on the radio. Same thing that happens in all the movies. He tries to tell everybody to get off the bus. Your cast of characters follow him, and everyone else dies. So they're like, "Oh, how did you know?" And he can't explain it. So I'm gonna go through this movie pretty quickly. Um, then what happens is they're all living their lives like normal, thankful that they survived and lived. And his best friend Peter, who got off the bus with him, and his girlfriend Candace, is a gymnastics person. So he goes to see her at her gymnastics class, and she was actually the first one to die. So we know, as people who've seen the movies before, that she's going to be the first to go. And in the gymnasium, there is all types of shit that can go wrong here. There's a fan that's leaking above her, that the fan could fall. She could step in an electrical current. Just all types of stuff. There's like a screw on the balance board where she's doing these flips, and it's really tense because you know she's going to step on it, but she doesn't. One of the bars that they swing from is getting looser and looser. So she's doing her workout. He's watching her. And we keep waiting for something to happen. And then another girl gets on the beam, and she steps on the screw and then kicks this, I guess, chalk that gymnastics people use to put on their hands. Like, it gets thrown into a fan, and it sprays Candace in the eyes while she's flipping on the bars. And so she jumps off, does some kind of triple flip, and then lands, and her entire body is like folded up like an accordion. It was sick. Very sick. This movie was also in 3D, so I didn't watch it in 3D, but you can see how all this shit comes at the screen, and you can tell it was supposed to be like, wow. But even though I didn't watch it in 3D, I kind of wish I did, because a lot of movies that say they're in 3D and they're adding all this stuff for the movie, they really don't. And it's maybe a few shots like the last Saw movie I saw in 3D, and it had no need to be in 3D. They only did like maybe 3 things in 3D. But this movie did a lot of stuff in 3D, so it looked pretty cool to me. But anyway, she gets killed, and she's just folded up. I don't know why when the sand got her in the eyes, her first idea was to jump off the bar and do like a quadruple flip. But she should have just jumped down, but she went for a flip and she gets crushed. Like all her bones just shoot out of her legs and stuff. Okay, the second death is this one guy. He steals from the dead coworkers who died in the bus, and he takes a gift certificate to a spa. And he goes to this spa, and he's kind of a heel weasel guy, and he's trying to hit on all these Chinese massage people, and they explain they don't do that, and it's not that type of place. And so he goes into the back room, and they set him up with this old Chinese woman who's, adjusting him, and then she puts acupuncture needles into him, and she lights incense and all this stuff, and she says, "Go to sleep now," and she leaves. Well, some of the incense, death comes, and it's all black for a little bit, and then some incense falls onto some paper, catches it on fire. He rolls off the table, and all the acupuncture needles get like stabbed into his chest and face, and he tries to pull it out, and it's like this really long needle. It's pretty sick. And he falls into a thing of rubbing alcohol, and the fire spreads, but he escapes, so you think he's going to burn to death, but he gets out, and then this Buddha statue falls and just crushes his head. So his friends show up because they're starting to realize something's going on, and they find out he died, so they're at the scene of the death, and they see this black guy, and it's Tony Todd from the Candyman series. And they see him at the gymnasium, and they saw him at the funeral for the people who died in the bus, and he warns them that death doesn't like to be cheated. They ask him who he is, why is he always around when someone dies, and he works for the hospital taking the dead bodies. And he says that he's just seen this before. When someone survives an accident, death eventually comes and kills the rest of them. He doesn't like to be cheated. And he tells them, and this is what's kind of new for the series, at least as far as I remember, if they kill another person, that person takes their place, and they can live the remainder of whatever that person would have lived. So if they kill someone who would have lived for 30 more years, then they get the 30 years, and that person takes their spot for death. So it's kind of an interesting twist. Now they're thinking, should we kill to save ourselves or not? And of course the heroes, and the majority of them, say no, but this one guy, Peter, who lost his girlfriend Candace already, he's freaking out. He wants to do it. So the third death, they have this girl, Olivia, and she wears glasses, and she wants to go get LASIK eye surgery. And she goes to the place, and the guy puts her in the machine. She's the next to die, obviously, and he squeezes her head in between these things for the LASIK so she can't move her head. And then he puts these drops in her eyes, and he puts this thing that like keeps her eye open. And she's right under the machine. Oh man, this was sick. And then he can't find her paperwork, so he leaves the room, and the girl is freaking out. And all of a sudden, death, like the shadow, comes into the room, and it's starting. So some coffee or something gets spilled, and causes a short circuit in the LASIK machine, and it starts cranking up the heat to like crazy limits so that the laser would just burn anybody. And it eventually cuts on, it burns her eye, she tries to rip the thing out of her eye, and then she puts her hand up in front of the laser and it just burns her hand. Just really horrific stuff. At this point, Sam and Molly know what's going on, so they rush to the LASIK place to save her. They get in the room just in time. She's saying, "Help me," and she stumbles backwards and she trips and falls out the damn window. So they made it in time. She survived. I thought she might be a survivor, and then she just fell out the window. Sucked. But, sucked for her. I mean, the whole scene was awesome. But, then they have another friend. And he's got this coworker who is just a dick to him. He's always, he's the manager, and he's always, going against his orders. He's trying to get the other workers riled up. and he's had enough of this guy, and he's on this high-rise platform talking to him, and he sees this one of these hook crane things coming, and he tries to warn the guy. He doesn't want the guy to get killed, but he pushes him to try and save him, and the guy falls, and then we see the hook went through his head. So this means that the guy gets the remaining part of his life. He's safe. Death can no longer get him because he technically killed someone else. So his friends are there, and they explain this to him, that, well, you should be safe now. Death can skip over you. And their boss is there, and he was also on the bus, and his death is basically a wrench is on a belt sander thing, and it just shoots through his head. Wasn't very impressive at all. So Molly and Sam are talking about how he has this job offer to go to Paris, and let's just go and get away from all this. And Peter shows up. Well, Peter lost his girlfriend, and he's really been upset about it. So he's talking to Sam and Molly, and he says that I tried to kill someone who didn't deserve it, and I couldn't do it. But Molly, you survive, and I don't see why you deserve to live and the rest of us deserve to die. So he takes out a gun. He's going to kill Molly and take the rest of her life. And he gets in this huge fight with Sam. And a cop hears the gunshots, and a cop comes to the scene who's been investigating these murders. And Peter shoots the cop, giving himself the rest of the cop's life. And then Peter wants to kill Molly anyway because she was a witness to a murder. And he says, now that I got my life back, I don't want to spend it in prison. So Sam attacks him from behind and stabs him through the back with a, I don't know what it was, big spike. So Peter's dead, and Sam says, well, Molly, you survived, and I just killed Peter, who killed the cop, so that means I killed someone who wasn't going to die, so that means I'm safe now too. So yeah, it's kind of complicated. But anyway, so that's what happens, and Molly and Sam book their flight to Paris, and it shows the ticket, and it's from 2000, and they're on flight 180 from the very first Final Destination, and they see the kid from the first movie getting drug off the plane, screaming, everybody get off the plane, everyone get off the plane. So this was an awesome twist. The whole movie took place in 2000. At the beginning, this one girl drives up listening to Everclear, and I thought that was kind of random because it was an old song, but now it makes sense. The whole movie was set in the year 2000. So they're on Flight 180, and Flight 180, as we all know, blew up. So Molly and Sam get killed, and then we see the guy who killed his coworker, Roy, accidentally, and got the remainder of his life. And it shows him at the bar, and one of Roy's friends says that the hospital says Roy had a huge blood vessel and would have been killed any day now anyway. So he realizes he didn't get much of a life left, and then Flight 180 comes crashing down and crushes him. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie. It has some interesting death sequences, the LASIK eye death, the acupuncture death, the gymnastics death. So it had some good stuff, and I thought overall it was an okay movie, and I got it for $1. And if you want to see just a fun way to kill an afternoon or whatever, it's only like an hour and 30 minutes. Go rent Final Destination 5. At the end, during the credits, they show clips and the highlights of all the other deaths from 1 through 5. And that was pretty fun to see again. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this movie to check it out. It wasn't nothing really terrible about it. It was just a Final Destination movie. So I thought it was fun. Well, that's it for today. So I hope you guys liked this review. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. Like the videos, leave some comments. If you have a request for a movie you want me to watch and review, send it to me, and I will try to get to the movie. So I may be back tomorrow with another movie review. So thanks for listening.